Hello everyone, welcome to PHTV Channel 4 in Palos Heights. I'm Sue Jankowski. Welcome to Meet with Moraine. This program we meet with someone from Moraine Valley, usually in a leadership role, and we talk about what is their department all about, and we hope you've learned a lot over time. And I'm really happy today to introduce Debbie Savage, who is the director of the nursing program. Debbie, thanks for coming in today.
Oh, thank you, Sue.
Well, I think nursing care right now is certainly in the news. It has been, and I can't wait to hear more about it. But before we get to that, let's find out a little bit about your background and how you got involved in Moraine Valley.
It's sort of a long road. So I started nursing some years ago, and I did labor and delivery and mother-baby, and I did that for almost 18 years, and then I kind of went into nursing leadership. In the process of that, I did some home health. And then I got into leadership, and I thought, oh, well, this is interesting. I can do nursing and leadership and, help out my staff and whatnot. So I was doing that, and then at one point, I decided to become a travel nurse. So I traveled up and down the coast of California and up in Seattle for 2 years. I mean, nursing, you can do pretty much anything. So it was very exciting.
That's exciting. I'm kind of jealous right now.
It is. And then after that, I worked for an international telecommunication company, training on medical equipment in the hospital throughout the country, and then went back into leadership and ran a hospital and ran some departments, ran an ER. And then I decided, I think I want to teach. So I ended up teaching for a university, which was really fun. And I thought, I really like this. And it was an associate degree program at the time. And then I started moving into university setting where I was actually teaching in nursing programs. So prior to coming here, that's what I was doing. And then when I saw that Moraine Valley had an opening, which was so unusual, I decided to take a look at that. And I was really excited, because I had always heard such great things about Moraine Valley, as well as their NCLEX rates have always been so good, which is so important. And they have, really tremendous faculty. And the hospitals, that we would go to from my other previous university would always speak so highly of Moraine.
Oh, that's good to know.
So I decided I'm going to interview there and see what happens. And so, that's why I came to Moraine for that reason. And I really like to provide our students a much more affordable educational experience than perhaps at other, private universities.
Well, that's so important too. If someone wants that kind of career path, sometimes the expense of that education, depending on what you want to do, is kind of cost prohibitive. So this is a great jumping point. Well, you've just done so many things. You're just, it's amazing in your short amount of time that you've done all of this stuff. How long have you been at Moraine Valley?
I've been there since last August, so I'm going on a year.
Okay, that's well, you picked a real, I will say, hectic time to be part of Moraine Valley. So I guess, when you think about nursing and people thinking about, is this a career for me? What qualities should they look at themselves and kind of analyze, is this something that would be good? Like, what are you looking for in a good nurse?
For good nurses, it's really important that you have compassion as well as empathy. We're taking care of people in some of the most challenging times in their lives. So you really need that compassion and that care that you need to have for your patients as well as their family. You need to be a good communicator because you're going to be talking to all sorts of folks, from the patient, the family, to the doctors, to everybody else in the healthcare team.
So true, yes.
And I think today, just in general, the COVID pandemic, grit and resilience always was important in nursing, but now more than ever. To really have that, great desire to do it, but, that stick-to-itiveness, because it is hard in nursing sometimes, but there's a lot of good times in nursing, and there's so much opportunity, but it's that grit and perseverance, I think, that are really needed, and the desire to make a difference, because we do make a difference in our patients' lives.
Oh, a tremendous difference, yes. Your involvement with the nursing care is more than your involvement with your physician, because they're kind of seeing you through whatever, even if it's a simple test or you're just there to visit someone. But that nurse really kind of gives you the layout of what's going on. Like, could you interpret, please, what's going on? I don't mean that about, you can't understand your doctor, you can, and they're great for answering questions, but sometimes the knowledge that the nurse has is just so important. So those are great qualities. I think what you're saying too might be, is almost like, some occupations have almost like a calling, like you feel like that's something you can do and something that you feel good about, or that's a skill set that you can engage with your career. And it's not for everybody.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a good thing.
It really isn't.
No. So, this whole time during this whole COVID epidemic and pandemic, we're actually still struggling through this because it's not gone and it's never going to be gone. And so we've all had to learn different things. But what kind of impact has this had on the future students coming in now? Are you getting more students, less students? I mean, what kind of impact has COVID had on that career?
COVID has really impacted everything, and of course it is still very active, sadly, but hopefully we'll find some vaccines that will be more long-term so that it can be managed much like the flu is, which hopefully is coming in the fall. But nonetheless, I think in the COVID world, for nursing, it has really changed. There's always been a nursing shortage about every 10 years. Right now we have a really severe nursing shortage that's only getting worse. And the reason for that is we don't have as many students that want to come into nursing, and that's statewide, that's nationwide. It's not just at Moraine Valley. I'm on our Deans and Director call and hear that from all the schools that the numbers are significantly down. So we're really, in order to fix our nursing shortage, we really need more people to come into nursing. We need more faculty to want to be faculty. And together, I think that will bring in more nurses. But, the pandemic has done some good things, and then it's done some bad things. So, it has been a real struggle for the people in the hospitals, seeing, patients dying and, so very sick. But on the other hand, the hospitals and the other healthcare facilities have done some good things, really looking at the mental health of their staff. And they're putting in some resources, extra resources for them. Pay has certainly increased significantly in nursing. Some of the benefits at some places are increasing, which had never been heard of before. So that's been good for them. In addition, something different that's happened are LPNs. They actually have more opportunity than they ever had before. So many of them are in the hospitals now. Hospitals are hiring them unlike they've ever had. Not to say that they shouldn't become an RN after that, but they're really having a lot of great opportunity, which is really unusual.
Yeah, well, because the shortage is causing you to go to the next group of people and educate them into other ways that can be helpful and a skill set that they can actually use in the hospital setting. So that is a good thing.
And even the associate degree nurses, many hospitals weren't necessarily wanting to use that because something called magnet status. The hospitals would get this accreditation called magnet status, and they had to have 80% of their staff be BSN prepared. So many of the hospitals then were saying, we don't want associate degree programs in the hospital, but now that's swung the other way in order to try to recruit. So they're actually letting more associate degree programs in, which has been good, but certainly for Moraine.
So with Moraine, you can get your associate degree in nursing, and then you're a CNN. Is that right?
No, it's an associate degree in applied science is the degree that we give our student nurses. Okay. So then they can take NCLEX after that and become an RN.
Wait, they can become an RN through courses at Moraine Valley?
Right, the whole nursing program. It's a 4-semester program, and when they're done, then they take NCLEX, which is the big nursing test, state test, and then they take that, and if they pass, then they're an RN once they pay for their Illinois license.
Well, that's amazing. Now, did that just recently change? Because it used to be where to become an RN, you needed a 4-year degree.
Well, you don't have to have a 4-year degree. Many hospitals want that, and I'm a big proponent of getting there, eventually. But we do have a nice partnership with a university called a dual enrollment program. Okay. But we have RNs, we have LPNs, and then we have RNs with associate degrees and RNs with BSN degrees in the hospitals today.
Oh, okay. So that's good because you can do what you can do, and then maybe if you wanted to do more, you can, or at least you could get situated in your career.
Right, you can get started.
That's pretty quick. I mean, after 4 semesters.
So basically 2 years.
Yeah, that's great. So is that unusual with Moraine Valley that they have that kind of program? Or is there a lot of 2-year institutions that provide that kind of ability to get that associate degree and become an RN?
Yeah, there are a lot of associate degree nursing programs in mostly community colleges. And then most of our universities tend to have the BSN, which is the Bachelor of Science in Nursing.
Okay. Well, does that make any difference? Like what kind of like standing, promotion, responsibility that you would have if you're an associate degree RN or a bachelor's degree RN? Would that make a difference?
It does. Like I say, there's more opportunity for associate degree and LPN folks these days. But in the past, certainly to move into leadership positions and certainly to teach, you need a master's degree in nursing to teach in the state of Illinois. But, to be a unit manager, sometimes they will allow associate degree nurses to do that. More so, I think they prefer the bachelor's and maybe a higher master's degree as you move up into director, as well as CNO, and I believe that's how I got my director and CNO role, is because I had my master's degree.
Okay, so they can come. People can come to Moraine Valley, and at the end of, if they wish, they can become an RN if they pass that test that you mentioned. Now, I'm hearing or seeing that nursing is identified as a special admission program. What does that mean? I mean, it would affect this way that they're getting educated to become something, an RN.
Well, I've never heard of it mentioned as a special admission program, but I guess special in the way that it's very competitive. So we do have priority for our in-district students, and most community colleges have that as well. But we're also looking at all the prereqs that they need to have. It's not like you can just start our program without applying and going through the whole process. So there's also an admissions test, a TEAS test, that the students take to look at their math and their science scores to make sure they can be successful. We're not doing it just to annoy our students. There's a good reason. And then they need to take developmental psychology as well as microbiology before they apply. They can be in progress when they're applying, and we highly encourage them to take our Bio 180 and 181, which are human anatomy and physiology courses. It really helps our students in the first semester to have all of those.
Okay, so there's like some really great training that needs to happen. I guess with the training too, is there kind of a hands-on kind of component to this? I would think there would be, of course.
There is.
Yes.
And it starts from the beginning. So again, it's 4-semester programs. So at the very beginning, you have fundamentals, which is, your basic, let's learn all our nursing skills and practice on folks. So we have lab, we have clinical, and we have simulation as well. And simulation is a safe way to practice, as is the lab, because you're in our nursing skills lab. And then we have clinicals where they actually, in fundamentals, they go to hospitals and nursing homes. And then we move into our medical surgical clinicals and advanced medical surgical clinicals. You have OB clinicals, mental health clinicals. It's a lot in 4 years.
It really is,
And most of those are in hospitals. We go all over. We have Palos Community Hospital here, some of the Advocates, Christ and South Suburban. We have River Edge Hospital, which is a mental health hospital, and St. Joe's and Joliet, and many others. So they get a breadth of experience, and some folks, really want it to be really close to Palos Hills. Well, there's only one hospital really close to Palos Hills, so we have to expand. Everyone can't go there.
Sure.
But that variety is really good, because then you get to see how different people practice in different hospitals and different doctors and, different things that the hospitals are doing. So it's great. But we also have the lab and simulation on campus, on both of our campuses.
Is the simulation like virtual reality? Is that the same thing, or is that two different things?
It is. It's similar. So we have virtual simulation, and then we also have in-person simulation. So we actually have high fidelity and low fidelity mannequins. Our high fidelity mannequins, they can birth a baby, they can hemorrhage, they can do all kinds of fun things. And then we have our Apollos. You can do codes on them, and you can pretty much do anything with them. So our simulations, the faculty put them together with the lab staff, and then that's a safe way to really practice on your patient. If you make a mistake, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about it in your debrief and it's all okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
in our lab, you know, they just practice primarily their skills, but then they have to apply that somewhere. So they apply that in clinical as well as in the simulation. And then our virtual simulation is something new. So that, you know, it was out of the pandemic that, you know, it was decided we needed that because clinicals, you know, were a little hard to come by at some points because of the pandemic. But now we've pretty much implemented that for our first semester students last semester. And what they're doing is it's during class, so it's during our theory class where they're actually having a different opportunity to learn in a different way. You know, they're actually putting on their headsets and they get orientation, so they're not, you know, discombobulated when they get started. But they go ahead with the scenario that they have, and they're actually taking care of patients with their controller and their headset. And you know, something as simple as dropping something on the floor because you moved your handset. If you don't pick it up, you know, it's very obvious on the video. So they do a debrief after that to talk about, you know, what's gone well and what could be done differently. And our students really enjoyed that. You know, all of the evaluations we did, they really found it an interesting way to learn, an interesting way to practice, and that they'd want to do it again.
Okay, so that does seem, I think you have to, and I'm sure there's all ages of people that go into your program, but I would think with the younger people, they're more technology savvy and would learn
Typically.
a lot from that. Typically, yes, they would learn a lot from that or enjoy doing that kind of way of learning.
And some people even have these Oculus headsets at home, which I hadn't even thought of, but they can also do some of these virtual simulations at home. They log into our UB Sim system and then they can practice at home if they already have a headset.
Which is really great. I mean, then you're not, you know, you can make a mistake, like you said, and not feel like, oh,
like,
you know, I don't want to hurt anybody, you know, so that is pretty great. So after they do these things, is there like some sort of guidelines they have to pass to be able to go into, you know, actual patient care so that they can practice? I mean, you have to practice these things. You have to be comfortable with actual people laying there, and you have to do something with them.
You have to talk to them,
do.
yes. And that takes practice. So that's where our fundamentals clinical come in. And you know, one of the big things in fundamental clinical is to talk to your patients. You know, to actually sit down, talk with them, learn about their condition, and try and help them. You know, so once they do that, you know, they start from the very beginning. They have clinical until the very end of the 4th semester. They have lab and simulation as well. So that's where all that practice comes through in the 4 semesters.
Yeah, that's so important, the communication and the comfort element. You know, most people are not comfortable because something's going on that's not good, and they're in the hospital, they're at the doctor's office or wherever they are, and they're there for either a traumatic event or a confusing event or just for their health care. And you do want someone with compassion and who will explain things to you and talk. So that's a huge component of it. That's really great. Okay, so now you have the ability to get a great career started after 4 semesters. They sound intense. Like, are you there full time to do this?
It is a full-time program.
Okay, because, you know, some of them aren't, you know, so that's good.
We are a full-time program. Some students do work part-time, and that's usually workable. Full-time, not wise.
Yeah.
You know, some students do that, and they succeed somehow. But it is a tough program. You know, we have patients' lives in our hands, which is why it's challenging. It's really important that you learn all the knowledge and skills so you can apply them in practice safely. And because we have so many opportunities in nursing, you need to know a little bit about all kinds of things. So it's not like a doctor who goes into, say, OB. They just deliver babies, they do gynecology. As a nurse, a basic nurse with an RN degree or even an associate's degree or an LPN, you can do any area of nursing. So that's why you need those good base of knowledge and skills so that you can actually do that safely.
Yes, exactly. There are so many facets that you could be thrown into that you need to be able to do that.
Right.
How about communication with the doctor, you know, that is also important? Is there like professional clinic, like how do you do that? That can be intimidating too, I think.
It is, but that's in our simulations as well. So the group of students, there's usually a group of 6 to 8 students. One of them, is the nurse at the bedside, and then the faculty is usually the physician. So the students have to call the doctor, who's your faculty member, and they try to act like the doctors, depending on what the scenario is, so that you get that kind of information. Maybe the doctor's stressed out, you get that, and then they have to be able to communicate with them, properly.
Right. Mm-hmm. I guess too, with COVID and everything, it's kind of like, how do you encourage new people to come into the field, knowing that hopefully we will not have anything as impactful as what we started with in 2020, right, and that things have simmered down a little so they can have a great career, earn a nice salary, and have a professional job. What's your recruitment like to get people to understand it's not going to be always like it was?
Right. And it's already not like it was. Mm-hmm. The 2 years of the pandemic were extremely, extremely stressful for the staff, and rightly so. People were dying and really sick. But,
right,
I think, people looking at nursing, you have to really look at the fact that there's so many different things you can do in nursing. Again, you don't have to just do one thing. Back in the day, it was that you had to become a medical surgical nurse in a hospital. That is no more. You can do that, and it's, the hospitals would love to have our new students go into medical surgical nursing, but you can go into labor and delivery, you can go into the emergency room, you can go into the ICU, you can do home health, you can do school nursing, where you have summers off. You can work in an insurance company. There's just an endless supply of things that you can do, to be like a travel nurse. Usually then you need 1 year of experience in the area that you want to work in. But after that, then you can go travel the country and, make a lot of good money and see a lot of new places, mm-hmm, and have a good time that way. Mm-hmm. So, I think, people need to look at nursing as a whole. Hospital conditions are better than they've ever been. Again, mm-hmm, the hospitals and other healthcare facilities are really looking at the staff in terms of pay and benefits and support. Mm-hmm. So, it's a great time to get into nursing. It does take a lot of hard work to become a nurse, but once mm-hmm, you're a nurse, even an associate degree, even if you don't go on to get your bachelor's, you're still going to have a ton of opportunity, in pretty much any area you want to work in. Mm-hmm. So, that's like no other profession.
No, it's true. And what's nice is, my experience with nurse friends, there are different ways to work as far as working longer hours, 3 12-hour days, mm-hmm, or whatever. You can, if you have a family and you're trying to juggle your family and right, your work life, there's a lot of opportunity to do that. Or the area you want to be in, there's opportunity if you want to work at a doctor's office or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're not there in a hospital setting. Right. Exactly. And of course, the pay would be different, I would think, depending on, right, I know school nurses don't make a lot of money, but it's the convenience of right, working in a school.
But even they're making more than ever.
Well, that's true, too. Yes, that's true, and they should. It's a huge responsibility to be in nursing, mm-hmm, and it's also the first time that patient has any involvement with the hospital. So it is nice when you get, someone who has compassion and is personable and explains things and mm-hmm, stuff. And that's, just incredibly important. So I think that people should know, you can go back to nursing. We need nurses just mm-hmm, like we need, law enforcement. We need teachers right now because mm-hmm, all of those careers have kind of slowed down and right, people have retired and people don't go into it anymore. But things are changing. So with nursing, it's looking up.
It is looking up. And we have a lot of opportunity at Moraine. We do have a dual enrollment program with University of St. Francis. So as I was mentioning, to get your bachelor's degree, typically after you get done with your associate degree and become an RN, now you can work. And then you can go usually online to your RN to BSN program, and that usually takes 2 years. Whereas our dual enrollment program, if you start it, you can do it, and while you're in our program, you can start taking those classes. And in the summer, you can take classes. You can finish as quickly as 1 semester with your bachelor's after you finish your associate degree instead of 2 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's really cool. And then we also have the economical end of it. It's $299 a credit hour for 30 credits at University of St. Francis, which is unheard of.
It is. That's
know.
so reasonable.
So
It's cheap.
you can get done quicker, you can get
Yeah.
done cheaper, and you know,
Yeah.
now have your bachelor's and even have more opportunity in nursing. So it's really a nice program.
You know, I think a lot of people are looking to Moraine Valley Community College for those financial opportunities that make education affordable. Because you look at these the big universities, and they're almost cost prohibitive for families, especially if they have, you know, many people who want to go, or you're starting a second career and you may not have that kind of bank, you know, money. So this is a great way to do it. How would they get started? What should they do?
They would go typically to our morainevalley.edu website. When you're on the website, you're going to go to the top tab, which is called Programs, and then you're going to find the nursing program. Down there, you're going to find like green banners on the website, and there's something called Admission and Requirements. So when opening that, you'll see all the different prerequisites that you need, all the information, including a link to the application that you can download, and you can fill it out, and then you can email it in. You don't have to bring it in. You can email it. Looking at your transcripts, it's got all of that. We also have all the nursing program costs on the website, so you can plan accordingly. We have the TEAS test information, which is that admission test that you would have to take. And the other thing, you know, to know if you're thinking about going into nursing, we do require that you take the BNET, so the Basic Nurse Assistant Training course, which is the CNA course. You don't have to become a CNA, but you have to take the course.
Okay.
So you can be in progress while you're applying to our program in order to do that. And if you do become and get licensed by the state as a CNA, you get an extra ranking point, which helps when we're looking at the competitive admissions. And if you take whatever grade you get for your microbiology class, as well as if you take those human anatomy classes, you get additional ranking points for that as well, which puts you higher on the list. So if we have a ton of students, then you know you'll be higher on the list to get in.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah.
If someone was interested and they looked and they did those things, but they really wanted to talk to somebody about it, could they come in and do that? And how would they go
Certainly.
about it?
Also on the website, when you go to the nursing page, if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, there's an email system where you can email somebody, which is me. And then typically I'll email back, and then you'll have my phone number, and then certainly they can call. I think my phone number is somewhere online because people are calling.
Okay, good.
So you can certainly call and ask questions. Our academic advisors are very helpful. You can call them and you know try to get a little appointment to talk about nursing. Maybe you have some prereqs you took before. You're not sure if they will you know transfer over. They can usually tell you that better than I can about your transcripts.
Sure.
But I can tell you more about the program and then the basic nursing training. But a lot of folks think that they have to be a CNA, and I just want to dispel that. You don't have to get your license.
Okay.
You just have to take the course because those skills are important to have when you come in.
Okay, good to know. Anything else, Debbie, that our viewers should know about hopefully joining in the nursing program?
Well, now is a great time to get into nursing. You know, again, there's a nursing shortage. Pay is fantastic. Opportunity is tremendous. You know, you'll have a nice economical plan here at Moraine Valley, as well as even if you do our dual enrollment with University of St. Francis to get those things done so you can truly become the nurse, hopefully that you want to be. If you have any desire to take care of other folks, you know, you've thought about it, but you think, I'm not so sure, even if you think, oh, I don't like blood and all of that. You know, it's beyond that. You don't have to work at the bedside. You have to do the clinicals. But, you know, there's many things you can do besides just the bedside. So now is a great time to look into it.
Lots of different opportunities for your likes and dislikes to be sorted.
And what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Debbie. This is a
thank you.
wonderful program, and I just can't believe the opportunity you could have if you just headed over to Moraine Valley Community College and thought about becoming a nurse, an RN. That is wonderful.
Yes.
Well, thanks for watching us, and we will be back next month with another interesting facet of Moraine Valley Community College. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
I was really excited to be a part of the first cohort to experience the virtual reality for the Moraine Valley Nursing Program.
How are you feeling? My pain usually happens when I cough, and I rated a 2 out of a 10.
I have never done virtual reality before, so I did not know what to expect. And after doing the training session and the simulation, I actually grew very fond of it, and it definitely helped me become a better nurse. His blood pressure is dropping. It's now 108/70. I think he's having an allergic reaction.
We had a patient that was receiving an antibiotic and he went into anaphylactic shock. So we were able to care for the patient, we were able to call the physician, take vital signs, and we were able to treat him until he was feeling better.